For this project, you are going to be a subject expert for your topic that you researched. So you are going to have to teach that topic to your fellow classmates and teammates so that they can create their project and have the information that they need to create their project. Now, to teach other students, you're going to need to understand what they know at the end of your presentation and also be able to assess whether they learned what you wanted to teach them. And a good way to do that is to start by making a quiz. So the first step you're going to do is open your folder for your work, and then you're going to create a folder for science. Since this is a science project, we're going to put our work where it belongs by topic in this case, or by subject. So I clicked the create folder button up at the top, or you can click create over here. If I click cancel, I can show you another way, create folder. That's another way you can do it. Then you make your science folder, and now we'll have that available in our shared folder. Make sure it's in your shared folder, and you can tell because you should also see math and reading in there. We've already created those, and a folder with your face on it, or a little person. Once you're in your science folder that you've created, it's time to create your quiz using a form. Now the form is going to let you ask questions from other people. It's not always a quiz, it doesn't automatically make it a test, but it does let you ask people questions that we can use it as a test. And we want to choose a format for the form or a theme. That's not so important. You can use the default one is okay, or you can choose a different one, but you want it to match what the topic is. If I'm doing a quiz about volcanoes, let's put that up at the top first where it says title, much more important than how it looks. Put your topic and then quiz. You wouldn't want to put pictures of balloons or wedding cakes on there or Christmas lights. We could choose a different color like red maybe for a volcano, but you want something pretty basic. Okay. Now when I get in, you'll see there's a question here. The title should already be in there for us if we entered it on that title page. Otherwise it will say untitled and you need to click up here to change it. Click at the top to give it a title. And it says require Calistoga Junior Senior High School login to view this form. What that means is only people with our chscats.com domain name, only people within our schools will be able to log in and view and use this form. And that's what we want right now because we're quizzing our classmates and our teammates, not other strangers around the world. If you were making a quiz for other kids to use at other schools, we would have to uncheck that and make it public for everybody. But since we're using it for ourselves, we can also automatically collect our usernames. So anybody who takes this form, anybody who fills it out, their name will automatically show up. They won't have to enter it themselves. So if we didn't check that, we'd have to make the first question asking the person to enter their name. But since we checked that box, they don't need to put their name in. And we can just start with our first question here. So it starts out being a multiple choice question, and that's going to be our best choice for these questions. We don't want them to be fill in the blank because then we have to worry about spelling, and it's a lot harder to grade and harder for people to do. So we're going to start with a question, and the easiest way to do that is to find what is important. What is the highest priority in what you're teaching them? If I'm teaching them about erosion, I would want to ask, what is erosion? If I'm teaching them about volcanoes, I could ask, what is a volcano? But a better way to ask that, an easier way, is to give the definition right here. A volcano is a weak spot in the crust where melted material comes to the surface, but leave out the key word there. Leave out the key vocabulary word. So we make that a blank, a fill in the blank statement. And that turns it into a question. A blank is a weak spot in the crust where melted material comes to the surface. And to make a blank, I hold on Shift and the minus key next to the 0. Blank is a weak spot in the crust where melted material comes to the surface. Then the helping text, you can give some instructions to answer the question. Choose the correct answer to fill in the blank. And multiple choice means they can only click on one of these dots. We're going to make 4 choices when we do multiple choice. That's a pretty standard number people use. So we can start with the correct answer, but you don't always want to start with the correct answer. You just want to make sure it's one of the 4, but mix it up. Make it the second one sometimes, or the third one or the fourth one. And for the other ones, you don't want to choose just some silly word because that makes it too easy. We don't want to put car and banana because we know a car and a banana have nothing to do with weak spots in the crust where melted material comes to the Earth's surface. So we want to use words that could be related but are definitely not the right answer. So to do that, you can look at other key vocabulary like magma or mantle. These could be other words, or subduction. That way students will need to be able to tell the difference between what a volcano is and what mantle is, or what subduction is, or magma. So we've got 3 incorrect answers and only 1 right answer when you do multiple choice. And we're going to make this a required question. That means they can't leave it blank when they submit it. They got to at least take a guess, and this is going to make sure that happens. So when you make it required and you click done, you'll see a little red star next to it, and you can see the choices and what the question will look like when they take the quiz. Up here you can click the edit pencil if you want to make changes to it, or the trash can if you need to delete it. Then just to add any more questions, remember our goal is 10 good ones, we can click add item here and it will make the same type of question. Okay, so in this case, it changed it to a text question, so I would need to click that little triangle and choose multiple choice if we want to keep it the same. And then we can put a number 2 and we can try the same thing. But I'm going to show you a different type of question. What if we wanted a true or false question? We could write true or false, and that means you need to make a statement, and the quiz taker has to figure out whether that statement is true or false. Let's start with a true one, a fact. Most volcanoes form at plate boundaries. That's a fact. So I could write that in there. And of course, if it's a fact, it needs to be true. Click on the box below to select true or false. The reason I'm saying the box below is because we're going to change multiple choice to a list, a selection list. Selection list means that when they click on the box, they'll get to choose between anything that's listed under here in the options. These options aren't going to show up until they click on the box. So when I click done, you'll see what I mean. See, it looks like a little box like that. You click the triangle and it shows you the words true or false. You could also do it with 2 multiple choice bubbles. Now let's try another item. Let's say you wanted to add something where you've got a lot of choices that are correct and some that are wrong. You want them to check off everything that's right in a list. To do that, we can choose a little triangle here. We can add item again, or you can choose a triangle next to it to tell it what to add, like checkboxes. So for number 3, select all of the terms below that refer to parts of a volcano. So now we can figure out if they know what the parts of the volcano are. Put a checkbox next to each correct term. So here we have checkboxes, which means they can click on more than one. The circles means only one. The little boxes means they can check off more than one. So we need to make sure we have at least all of the correct items covered, plus some that are not correct. So for example, if I put in lava, well, I wouldn't want to put in lava because that's confusing. It could be part of a volcano. But let's say we want to put in dormant. That's a term that refers to volcanoes, but it's not part of a volcano. So that would throw people off. They might choose that when they shouldn't. To get this question right, they would have to check only the right options of parts of a volcano, which we would include as the magma chamber, the pipe, and the vent, for example. And then we could put another one that's not correct. Maybe tectonic plate. Okay, so that can be how volcanoes are formed, but it's not part of the volcano. So now I click required, I click done, and we have check boxes that we can click on all the correct parts. You can also add a picture. What if you want them to explain what's going on in a diagram? Well, there's a couple ways to do this. You can draw your own diagram, and you can even draw some blanks with arrows pointing to things. You can say what is the arrow pointing to in the diagram. In that case, you would have to add item with this little triangle and choose image to upload an image. So if you drew your own, you can choose to upload the image and then it will show up there. But you can also search for images that already exist. So for example, if I wanted to look for subduction and how it causes volcanoes to form, I could write subduction volcano and search. You don't want more than 1 or 2 words, and you'll look for diagrams that could show how that's happening. So here we have a diagram of volcanoes being caused by subduction. So I clicked on it, I clicked OK. Here's our plate causing subduction and moving down here. And we can refer to this as figure A. Now this doesn't make a question, this just gives you a picture. I can click done, and then under the picture I can add a question, like a multiple choice question. So here we've got question 4. I could say, when subduction occurs, the plate moves downward and becomes, refer to figure A, and describe or choose the correct term. And then we'll give multiple choice. Now the correct term is, I'll make it the second one in this case. The correct term is becomes magma because it melts down. But we could also put some other things here. We could put the word vent. We could put the word lava. That would really be tricky because lava is not the term for it until it comes out of the volcano to the surface and starts to cool. And we need a fourth one. So in this case, we could say rock. It doesn't really become rock either because it starts off as rock and it melts down into magma. So those are four pretty good answers, and this could make it kind of tricky, but if they know what's happening during subduction when the plates are moving downward, and if you taught them well, if you do a good job teaching them, they'll be able to get this. So we'll make it required and click done. And you just need 10 of these, at least 5 good ones, but we're aiming for 10. When you're done, you click save. We'll go over sending it to other people and grading